The abode lay in a silence most oppressive, each shadowed nook burdened with the echoes of a life now departed. Upon the solitary table I did repose, mine eyes fixed upon a cup, but half filled with a dark elixir, feeling adrift in a sea of despair, more so than I had ever deemed conceivable. The burden of solitude did envelop me, akin to a dense and unyielding mist. As I didst believe the night would consume me entirely, a gentle rap upon the door didst break the silence. Perplexed and wary, I did unbar the door to behold my son's closest companion, his gaze brimming with an emotion I could not yet fathom, a sentiment that would alter the very course of our lives. Upon mine eyes first beheld him in that place, a curious tremor coursed through my very being. Lo, Jason, my son's dearest companion, appeared transformed beneath the glow of the porch light. He was no longer the slender youth who didst plunder our larder and succumb to slumber in the parlor after long hours of gaming revelry. Lo, he stood with stature grand, broad of shoulder, his visage bearing the gravity of one who hath traversed the realms and felt the burden of existence. Forsooth, in that fleeting moment, silence reigned o'er us both. The evening's breath did linger twixt us, heavy with unspoken thoughts. With a heavy heart, he didst utter, "I am sorry for thy loss," his voice resonating with a depth and steadiness that I had not recalled. I didst nod, bereft of utterance. Grief hath stolen from me that which was dear, my beloved spouse, my mirth, my place in this world, and now, even the sound of mine own voice. Jason, in a manner most ungraceful, didst shift his form, clutching a diminutive vessel within his grasp. "I present to thee a token," quoth he, extending his hand, a humble, hand-crafted casserole. It was a gesture, though slight, yet vast in its reach, that did rend asunder the delicate barrier I had erected within my soul. With a soft murmur of gratitude, I didst step aside, granting him passage within. The abode did consume him in a twinkling, as though it were famished for vitality and melody. He did place the casserole upon the kitchen's sturdy counter and turned his gaze towards me, a shadow of concern marking his countenance. "How dost thou fare?" he inquired softly, his gaze delving into mine in a manner that rendered me truly perceived, verily perceived, for the first time in many a week. I bestowed a smile, taut and devoid of mirth. "To endure," I did proclaim, my voice trembling upon the utterance. Jason, in a moment's pause, didst embark upon an unforeseen act, extending forth his hand to grace my own with a gentle touch. Not in a transient, perfunctory manner, but in a manner most grounding and steadfast, that did send a tremor straight through mine breast. Though I yearned to withdraw, to seek solace within my shroud of melancholy, a force within me didst resist the call. Mine heart did yearn for the bond. In sooth, I yearned for a soul to awaken within me the truth of mine own existence. "Dost thou wish for my presence to linger a while?" he inquired, with a timorous air, as though he feared to tread upon forbidden ground. As I gazed upon the desolate abode, mine eyes fell upon the photo frame that yet clung to the walls, and I felt the oppressive burden of silence descend upon me once more. Indeed, I did proclaim ere now that I might ponder too deeply upon the matter. "Pray, grant me this boon." We didst venture into the chamber of living, a realm imbued with both solace and sorrow. Jason didst perch upon the couch's edge, whilst I did curl upon the opposite end, drawing a throw blanket o'er my lap. For a brief span of moments, we lingered in silence, the sole symphonies being the gentle murmur of the refrigerator and the rare creak of the venerable abode as it found its rest. Strange it was, how natural his presence did seem, akin to a bridge twixt the life I had forsaken and the uncertain future that loomed before me. We did commence our discourse, first upon trivial matters, such as his fortunes at the new station of labor, and how the very neighborhood had transformed in his absence whilst he pursued his studies at the college. Then, with time's gentle hand, the discourse did wend its way to profound depths. He inquired of my lord, of that which I longed for most dearly. Though but a simple query, it did rend asunder the very fabric of my soul. In a moment of candor, I did find myself discoursing upon matters long imprisoned within, held captive by the dread of their burdensome might. I did discourse upon the mirth of midnight's embrace, the serene dawns, and the exchanged gazes that spoke volumes without utterance. Jason did lend his ear in silence, refraining from interjecting, nor did he seek to mend aught. He did but lend his ear, his focus so complete and near that it did cause my heart to ache with longing. And thus, when I found mine own words at an end, he did lean forth and uttered, "Thou art permitted to long for him and yet crave the presence of another." The utterance was so unrefined, so achingly veritable, that I found it necessary to shut mine eyes for a fleeting moment to regain my composure. I did unseal mine eyes to behold him nearer than e'er, his visage cloaked in shadow, yet his orbs did shine with a radiant light. In their gaze, naught but comprehension did dwell, devoid of pity's tender grace. Merely a silent, unvoiced gift of solace. Forsooth, in a fleeting instant, I perceived myself upon the precipice of a realm both perilous and fair, a domain that might either mend my weary soul or rend it asunder yet again. Mine heart did thud within my breast, uncertain yet, in some manner, eager to embrace. So long hath it been since any soul hath gazed upon me in such a manner, as though I were desired, not cast aside. Mine breath didst falter, as the spark of fervor danced in the narrow chasm betwixt our beings. And for the first time in what seemed an eternity, I did permit mine own thoughts to wander, pondering, what if the path ahead need not entail the forsaking of that which hath been? What if it might signify the discovery of a novel essence, something gentle and restorative, amidst the remnants of that which hath been forsaken? Jason, perchance, did behold the shift within mine eyes, for he did smile, a gradual and cautious smile that bore 1,000 unvoiced vows. Mine heart did race with fervent haste. In truth, I knew not whither this night might lead, yet forsooth, I felt no fear within my breast. I did draw breath upon this mortal coil, and I didst prepare mine heart to feel once more. Jason didst shift, his knee grazing mine, and that unintentional touch didst cause my breath to catch in my throat. So simple it would have been to depart, to forge a chasm and feign that the instant had not transpired. Yet I did not. I lingered there, sensing the warmth where his flesh did touch my own, allowing it to permeate the frigid, vacant chambers within my soul. His gaze didst seek mine with utmost care, bestowing upon me each chance to withdraw, each opportunity to utter a denial. Yet I remained steadfast in my place, my heart thundering with a fervor surpassing any utterance I might have made. In a moment unbidden, I did extend my hand, my fingers gently entwining with his, as if drawn by some unseen force. His hand, warm and steadfast, bore the marks of toil, a sharp contrast to the quaking fragility that dwelt within my breast. He didst respond by turning his palm aloft, intertwining his fingers with mine, a gesture so simple yet so intimate that it did cause my throat to tighten with emotion. Mine heart had slipped from memory the sweet sensation of such tender touch, bestowed not from obligation's hand nor duty's call, but from the purest wellspring of care and presence most sincere. Jason didst draw nigh, closing the gap that lay betwixt us. His hand did rise, albeit with a gentle trepidation, to place a wayward lock of hair behind mine ear. His fingertips, like whispers of the breeze, did but lightly brush my skin, yet such a touch did send a shiver coursing down my spine. Forsooth, a lengthy span of time did he merely gaze upon me, his eyes laden with profound significance. "Thou art so fair," he did whisper, his voice laden with a timbre that bore the weight of reverence most perilous. "None hath uttered such words unto me in many a year, not with that fervent, unadulterated sincerity." Mine eyes did feel the sting of tears, yet I didst blink them back, resolute in mine endeavor to keep them from descending. Instead, I didst lean into his gentle touch, allowing his hand to cradle mine cheek with tender grace. The realm beyond did vanish, the sorrow, the solitude, the ceaseless procession of hollow sympathies, until naught remained but this fleeting instant, solely he and I, and the poignant potential that lay betwixt us. He drew nigh, and I felt the warmth of his breath upon my lips. There didst occur a pause, a lingering hesitation, as though he were granting me one last reprieve. Yet I desired it not. I bridged the chasm, my lips alighting softly upon his. The kiss did commence with softness, a gentle hesitation, as though we both harbored fears that the other might withdraw. Yet, when I refrained, and didst incline my head to forge a deeper bond, he did respond with a passion that set my heart a-flutter with wild abandon. His arms did encircle me, drawing me nigh, and for the first time in an age, I felt embraced, verily, profoundly embraced. The kiss didst grow more ravenous, more fervent, as though we both sought to atone for the time that had slipped through our fingers. Mine hand did glide upon his breast, sensing the might concealed beneath his raiment, the steadfast truth of him anchoring me in a manner I had not perceived I so fervently craved. He withdrew but a fraction, gazing deep into mine, seeking any trace of remorse. Yet all he would have discovered was a longing profound, an unquenchable desire to awaken once more, to be cherished, to be acknowledged. "Art thou certain?" he inquired, his voice a gravelly whisper. I did incline my head, speechless, and thus he found the leave he sought. He rose, with tender hand, to lift me from the ground, and guided me towards the winding staircase. Each step didst bear the heavy burden of eager expectation, and every glance shared betwixt us was laden with unvoiced vows. As we did arrive at mine own chamber, my hands did quiver, not from dread, but from the intoxicating delight of what was soon to unfold. With utmost care, akin to a sacred rite, did Jason assist me in shedding my cardigan, his fingers grazing my skin, igniting trails of fervent heat in their passage. He pressed his lips upon the hollow of my throat, the gentle curve of my shoulder, lingering as though he sought to relish each and every inch of my being. With tender grace, I did reciprocate, my fingers weaving through his locks, tracing the noble contour of his spine, perceiving the dance of his sinews, tensing and yielding beneath my gentle caress. When at last he did lay me upon the bed, it was with a gentleness that did cause mine heart to ache most profoundly. He didst hover o'er me for a fleeting moment, his gaze imbibing mine essence as though to etch every detail upon the canvas of his memory. "Thou art most wondrous," he did murmur, and the awe within his voice didst make me believe it, too, if but for this night alone. As time did wane, our garments took their leave, one by one, as if in a gentle farewell, each article cast aside akin to the relinquishing of bygone existences and the burdens of yore. When he did lay his hand upon me, it was not with the clumsy haste of tender years, but with a profound and aching affection that rendered every part of my being both seen and cherished. Each kiss, each gentle touch, each murmured phrase did serve as a soothing salve to the scars I bore in silence for many a year. The bond of our bodies did spark with fervent energy, yet 'twas the depth of our souls that did unravel me, the manner in which he gazed into mine, never once averting his sight, and the way he bestowed upon me the feeling of being not shattered nor marred, but treasured beyond measure. Our forms did intertwine in a cadence as ancient as the very sands of time, a languorous, passionate ballet that swelled and swelled until it did engulf us both. When at last I did exclaim his name, 'twas not merely release I sensed, but a veritable rebirth of my very soul. It was the restoration of a fragment of mine own essence, which I had believed to be forever forsaken. Then we did lie entwined, our breaths harmonizing, the chamber suffused with a gentle golden hush. Jason didst caress my arm with fingers soft and languid, as though he feared the moment's end. Upon his breast I laid my weary head, attuned to the rhythmic thrum of his heart's cadence beneath mine ear. Forsooth, in this fleeting moment, I found not the burdensome yoke of solitude bearing heavily upon my soul. Yet I found myself embraced by warmth, anchored in solace, and cradled in gentle assurance. He didst press a kiss upon the crown of my head, and did whisper, "Thou art not alone any longer." I didst close mine eyes, and allowed the verity of those utterances to cascade upon me. In but a fleeting night's embrace, Jason didst remind me that love, in its myriad guises, doth flourish, and that healing, though fraught with chaos and complexity, remaineth within the realm of possibility. In sooth, I did lament for an age the treasures that had slipped through mine fingers, that I hath lost sight of the bright glimmers of hope that might yet be discovered. Enfolded within his embrace, I did at last permit mine heart to entertain the notion that existence might yet unveil unforeseen splendor, despite the weight of such profound grief. And perchance, just perchance, I was prepared to seek it anew. Lo, the morning light did gently creep into the chamber, bestowing a tender glow upon the tangled linens and the sweet warmth of yesternight's embrace. I did stir but a little, half anticipating to awaken in solitude, half preparing mine heart for the void that hath grown to be a steadfast companion. Yet Jason remained, his arm encircling me with tender guardianship, his breath a gentle rhythm upon my tresses. Forsooth, in that fleeting instant, I did permit mine own self to dwell within the sanctuary of that embrace, questioning not, doubting not, but merely feeling. Yet, as mine form did yield to his embrace, so too did my thoughts commence their ceaseless unspooling. Verily, the truth, as ever, didst call for recognition. In years advanced, I bore the scars of existence, a tapestry of trials and tribulations woven into my very being, a burden he could scarce comprehend. What we didst share upon the eve was fair and lovely, indeed, almost divine. Yet, can it endure beyond the delicate shroud we wove about ourselves in the shadows? Fear did creep in, slow and sly, filling the fissures of my heart with a chill of doubt most profound. Jason didst stir, perceiving the tempest within me, and his fingers did lightly caress my arm. "A penny for thine thoughts," he did murmur, his voice still laden with the weight of slumber. With a wistful smile, I did trace upon his breast the idle patterns of my thoughts. How might I convey unto him the depths of my dread? Though his tenderness didst wrap me in warmth, a part of my soul remained steadfast in the belief that this was but a fleeting dream, a lovely mirage destined to be rent asunder by the harsh light of day. As I pondered, my voice but a whisper, I did select mine words with utmost care. Forsooth, the eve past seemed, alas, too wondrous to be true. Jason didst raise mine chin with tender grace, compelling mine gaze to meet his own. There was naught but certainty, no shadow of remorse to be found. Merely steadfast truthfulness. Verily, it was so, he did declare with steadfast conviction, each fleeting moment thereof. Yet, uncertainties did gnaw at my very soul. What thoughts would dance within their minds, should they come to know? Would they behold me as one most desperate, a wretched soul, grasping at a transient caress to quell the ache of solitude? Shall Jason, in the morrow's light, awaken and gaze upon me with eyes unclouded, to discern that he is worthy of one more youthful, less fraught with complexity? With fervent grasp, I drew the blanket closer, as though to guard my heart from the certain pangs of sorrow that fate doth bring. Perceiving the change within my soul, Jason did rise a little, supporting himself upon one elbow. "Thou art once more lost in thought," quoth he, a tender smile gracing his visage. "Thou dost so when fear doth seize thee." With a start, I found myself astonished at the ease with which he discerned my very soul. "Perchance I am filled with trepidation," I did confess. "Thou art in the bloom of youth. Thou hast thine entire existence yet to traverse. To be a folly thou dost rue, I wish not to become." His visage did soften, and he did extend his hand to cradle my cheek. "Thou art not a folly," quoth he, as his thumb did gently sweep away a tear I had not perceived had descended. "Thou art the most valiant and fairest lady I have ever known. Last eve was not a quest to sate an emptiness. It was a quest for that which is true and genuine. Mine heart did yearn to place faith in his words. Oh, how fervently did I yearn to place my trust in him! Yet ancient scars dost possess a manner of murmuring falsehoods in the stillness of time's embrace. I didst turn my visage unto his palm, absorbing the warmth therein, striving to silence the whispers of doubt that did plague my soul. "What dost thou suppose shall transpire henceforth?" I did softly murmur. "When the realm doth return, when it is not solely thou and I in the sanctuary of this chamber." Jason did pause, as though he didst ponder with great care the utterance of his forthcoming speech. He did confess, "I possess not all the answers. Yet I am aware of the tempest within mine heart, and I shall not turn mine back upon this, nor upon thee." His utterances did descend upon me as a gentle tempest, calming yet failing to dispel the pangs of doubt that lingered still. In the hours that followed, as we donned our garments and traversed the familiar rituals of a mundane morn, a weighty silence hung betwixt us, unvoiced yet palpable. Each casual touch of his hand, each lingering gaze didst bear the weight of a truth most profound, for a change most significant had transpired betwixt us. We were no longer but two forlorn spirits seeking fleeting comfort. We were bound now, in a manner that filled my heart with both dread and solace. The rap upon the portal did startle us twain. Jason cast a furtive glance my way, as if to inquire without words whether I wished him to respond to the call. I didst shake mine head, donning my sweater and smoothing mine hair with gentle care. "Whosoever it be, they may bide their time." In sooth, I found myself in need of a fleeting moment, to collect mine thoughts and ponder how much of yesternight's enchantment I would permit the world to behold. Yet, within the depths of mine own heart, I discerned that the truest conflict lay not in the judgments of my fellow beings, but rather in the tempest of my own trepidation. Lo, the dread of once more laying bare my soul, the trepidation of daring to dream anew, the apprehension of unfastening mine heart to that which lies beyond my grasp. Lo! Jason approached from behind, encircling my waist with his arms, and resting his chin upon my shoulder. Whatever may come henceforth, he spake in hushed tones, we shall confront it as one. His utterances, though plain, bore the heavy burden of a vow I had not yet discerned I craved so fervently. For the first time in an age that seemed to stretch into eternity, I allowed mine heart to yield to that vow. I did allow mine heart to embrace, not in fanciful tales or flawless conclusions, but in the tangled, exquisite chance of that which is true, that which is worthy of the struggle. Perchance, indeed, that sufficed, just so. The days that did ensue were fraught with trials, yet verily they were of substance. There were instances of doubt, of pondering, of inquiring whether this delicate bond betwixt us might endure beyond that singular eve. Yet Jason, steadfast, did not falter. When I didst withdraw, beset by trepidation, he didst draw me back with steadfast patience. When I did waver in faith, he did gently remind me, with gestures plain and words steadfast, that love doth not always come as we envision, but oft arrives in silence, slipping through the fissures of a shattered heart, and taking root with tenacity and grace, defying all adversity. We didst keep our bond a secret, relishing the fleeting instances known solely to us, the sidelong gazes across the chamber, the furtive caresses, the midnight discourses that didst mend the fractured pieces of our souls. There were trials, indeed, yet we faced them side by side, comprehending that our bond, though not without flaw, was steeped in sincerity. Jason did ne'er cast upon me the weight of burden or the shadow of a mistake. He didst render me felt, cherished, adored, not in spite of mine scars, but for their very presence. Upon a gentle eve, as the sun did sink low and adorn the realm in tender gold, Jason grasped my hand with fervor and spake, Thou hast saved me as well, dost thou not know? With a smile amidst the tears that didst gather in mine eyes, I came to perceive that perchance this tale doth not solely concern the mending of ancient scars. Perchance it was a venture to forge anew, a creation neither of us had the courage to envision, yet both of us craved beyond the bounds of our prior knowledge.